The best years aren't behind you, they're right now. A powerful, emotional, and uplifting journey that helps older adults rediscover purpose, vitality, and joy in the present moment. There's a moment in life, quiet and often unnoticed, when you start to wonder if the best parts are already behind you. You don't mean to feel that way, it's not some dramatic declaration. It's subtle. It creeps in as you look at old photographs, hear the echo of laughter that once filled a now quiet house, or see the way people talk about youth as if it's the only time that mattered. You start to believe the world has moved on, and maybe you're just a memory in the making. But let me stop you right there. That thought, that deeply familiar ache that whispers, your golden years are long gone, it's wrong. Not just a little off, it's completely backward. Because the best years of your life, they aren't some distant memory packed away in boxes and tucked behind glass frames. The best years aren't found in your 20s or 30s, or even in the chaos of your so-called prime. No. The best years, the most meaningful, the most free, the most deeply rooted in truth and strength and perspective, can be happening right now, right here, in this very season of your life. You see, youth has its charm, but it's also full of noise, expectations, comparison, rushing. You spend decades chasing things, pleasing people, proving your worth. But now you don't have to chase. You don't have to compete. You've already lived. You've earned your place. And that gives you something youth never could: clarity. This isn't about pretending aging is easy. It's not. Your body may have slowed. Some people may have left. The world may feel different. But inside you is something unshakable, a deeper well of understanding, a sharper sense of what matters, a freedom to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what finally does. This isn't the leftovers of life. This is the distilled, hard-earned, golden hour. The part of your story where everything meaningless has fallen away and everything true remains. You're not at the end. You're at the edge of something remarkable. If you lean in, if you choose to see it, this moment, this day, this chapter, it might just surprise you, because maybe, just maybe, the best isn't behind you. It's right in front of you, and it's calling your name. Would you like me to continue with the first section? Stop looking back. You're not meant to live in the rearview mirror. It's natural to glance back, to remember who you were, what you had, the places you once called home, and the faces that made those memories matter. Memory is a gift, a sacred one. But sometimes, we don't just look back. We live there. We spend so much time in the rearview mirror that we forget to notice the road still ahead. The danger isn't in remembering. It's in believing that nothing now could possibly compare to what came before. You might find yourself reminiscing more, often these days. A song comes on and suddenly you're back in a kitchen filled with sunlight, or dancing barefoot on a wooden floor, or holding a newborn baby whose now-grown voice calls you only on holidays. The past feels warm, safe, known. But the past, no matter how golden, is not where life is being lived. There's a quiet cost to staying in the rearview. You miss the opportunity to feel joy in this exact moment. You begin to believe that you peaked long ago, that you're now just coasting toward the finish line. But let me tell you this, nobody peaks at 30, or 50, or 70. Not if they're still breathing, still wondering, still willing to be surprised. The truth is, some of your most meaningful memories haven't even happened yet. Some of your most heartfelt laughter, the deepest conversations, the most peaceful mornings, they're still on the way, but you won't see them if your eyes are glued to yesterday. You are not a has-been. You are a still becoming. The road in front of you might look different, maybe slower, maybe quieter, but it is no less sacred, no less alive, no less yours. So, take a breath. Thank the past for what it gave you and then look up. There's beauty waiting here, not there. And you, my friend, were made for the road ahead, not the one already traveled. Somewhere along the way, society quietly told us a lie, that personal growth belongs to the young, that reinvention, discovery, transformation These are luxuries for people with unlined skin and fast metabolisms. But that lie? It's one of the most damaging ones we're ever fed. Because here's the truth. You don't stop growing when you stop working. You don't stop evolving when your hair turns silver. You don't stop blooming because your knees ache or your back stiffens or the world forgets to look your way. You are still becoming, not a lesser version of who you once were, but a deeper, truer version of who you've always been meant to be. There's power in this stage of life that youth can't touch. You've seen things, lost things, loved harder than you thought possible, endured heartbreaks and disappointments and quiet, ordinary miracles. And through it all, you've been shaped, not hardened, but refined. And now, with the noise turned down, you can finally hear the quieter callings, the hobby you never gave time to, the book you always wanted to write, the business idea that sat on the back burner while you raised kids or paid bills or cared for everyone else first. There are 80-year-olds learning Spanish, 75-year-olds painting their first canvases, 90-year-olds running nonprofits. Not because they're bored, but because they can. Because the fire inside them didn't extinguish, it just needed more oxygen. You are not too old to try something new. You are not too old to change your mind, to change your habits, to change your life. And anyone who tells you otherwise has forgotten what living really means. Growth doesn't end when youth does. In fact, this stage, this deep, rich, unfiltered stage, is where the soul grows even wider. So lean in, keep becoming, keep discovering, keep surprising yourself. The world hasn't seen everything you have to offer. Not yet. There's a difference between existing and living, and for far too many people, especially in the later chapters of life, the days begin to blur. Morning comes, coffee brews, the clock ticks, and somewhere between habit and obligation, the color starts to fade. The world around you moves, but inside, it feels like you're standing still. But life isn't found in the hustle. It isn't always marked by big events or achievements. Sometimes it whispers to you in the smallest things. A warm cup held between your hands, sunlight streaming across the floor, a bird's song you somehow never noticed until today. Falling in love with your life again doesn't require a plane, ticket, or a dramatic reinvention. It starts by choosing to see again, to stop rushing through the day or waiting for it to be over, and start reclaiming it moment by moment. Ask yourself, what makes you feel awake? What stirs even the slightest flicker of joy? Is it the smell of garden soil or the sound of old jazz? Is it writing a letter by hand or watching a storm roll in from the porch? Whatever it is, give yourself permission to lean into it. To not just pass time, but honor it. You get to design your days now. You can wake up and decide that today is a soup-making day, or a walk-in-the-rain day, or a call a friend you haven't heard from day. There's freedom in that. Beautiful, sacred freedom. One man I met named Lawrence, 78, begins every morning by lighting a candle and writing down one thing he's grateful for. Not because his life is perfect, it's not, but because he's decided he wants to live it with open eyes and an open heart. That small ritual, he says, brought color back into his mornings. Reclaiming your day is about intention. It's about presence. It's about noticing the moments that matter and letting them matter. Because life hasn't stopped being beautiful. Sometimes we just forget to look. For most of our lives, we're conditioned to think that purpose is tied to a role. You're a parent, a worker, a partner, a provider. And when those roles shift, when the kids leave, when the job ends, when the calendar quiets, you start to wonder, what now? That question can feel like a void, like something's been taken from you. But purpose isn't a single job or title or season. It's not a trophy you earn or a finish line you cross. Purpose is not a destination. It's how you choose to show up every day. It's found in the way you greet your neighbors, in the stories you share, in the silence you sit with someone who needs a presence more than a solution. Purpose is in the way you love people, the way you pay attention, the way you give the world a softer place to land. You don't have to be running a business or saving lives to live with purpose. Maybe your purpose today is to offer kindness in a world starving for it. Maybe it's to teach your granddaughter how to cook, or to tell your grandson the story of where he came from. Maybe it's to show up at the community center with a smile, or to remind your friend who's hurting that they are not alone. One woman I spoke with, Marjorie, 82, volunteers twice a week at the local elementary school. She helps kids read. She calls it her heart time. The children adore her, and the teachers say she brings peace to every room she walks into. But Marjorie would never say she's doing anything grand. "I'm just showing up," she says. "That's my purpose." Purpose isn't flashy. It doesn't need applause. But when you move through the world with intention, with kindness, with love, you are living it fully. And when you do that, something shifts. The days don't feel empty anymore. They feel meaningful. Even the quiet ones. Especially the quiet ones. So stop searching for some big dramatic answer. You are already walking in your purpose every time you live with love, presence, and truth. For most of our lives, we're taught that health is about numbers: blood pressure, cholesterol, weight, heart rate. And while those things matter, they're not the whole picture. True health, the kind that keeps you not just alive, but vibrant. It lives in your mind, your spirit, your emotions. And sometimes it's those parts of us that need the most care. Your body may have slowed down. It may creak or ache or demand more rest than it used to. But what about your joy? What about your peace? What about the quiet strength that comes from tending to the garden of your inner life? We don't talk enough about emotional health as we age. About how grief can linger in the bones. About how loneliness can wrap itself around the heart. About how fear of decline, of dependence, of being forgotten can weigh heavier than any illness. But healing is not only about medicine. Sometimes it begins with a conversation, with a walk in nature, with music that stirs something long buried, with laughter, real deep belly laughter that shakes loose the dust inside you. And then there's the soul, the part of you that isn't measured in checkups but in moments, those times when you feel connected, purposeful, peaceful. Your soul needs beauty. It needs wonder. It needs quiet. And above all, it needs you to treat it gently. Take time to nourish yourself in ways that no pill can offer. Journal your thoughts. Meditate. Sing, even off-key. Dance slowly in the kitchen. Watch the stars. Revisit poetry. Speak your truth. Cry when it comes. Laugh when it rises. And breathe. Deep, slow, grateful breaths that remind you, you are here. Health is not a finish line. It's a rhythm. And when your mind, body, and spirit are in tune, even imperfectly, you begin to feel more alive. Because true vitality isn't just how fast you can move, it's how fully you can feel. There's a quiet myth that floats around like secondhand smoke, that love belongs to the young, that after a certain age, romance fades, friendship thins, and connection becomes a memory. But the heart? The heart does not retire. Love still lives, here, and it always has. Maybe it looks different than it once did. Maybe it's less about grand gestures and more about small, steady presence. A cup of tea brought without asking, a hand resting on yours during a slow conversation, a voice that says, "I'm glad you're here," and means it. Friendship doesn't have a deadline. Companionship doesn't expire. Romance doesn't fade just because time has passed. In fact, some of the most tender, deep, uncomplicated love stories begin later in life, when we finally know how to love without fear or performance. There's a man named Alan, 85, who met his partner at a Tai Chi class. He says they fell in love at the pace of breath. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic, but it was real. It is real. They eat breakfast together every morning and read out loud to one another in the evenings. Alan says it feels like coming home to something I didn't know I was still looking for. And then there's friendship, the kind that comes when two souls recognize each other's silence and sit in it without needing to fix it. The kind that comes from shared soup and shared stories, from a weekly walk, from inside jokes born after 70. If your heart is still beating, it is still capable of love. Whether it's the start of something new or the deepening of something already rooted, you are not too old to love or be loved. Not too old to be held, to be understood, to be chosen, to be wanted. You are not finished. Your heart is not finished. And someone, somewhere, is waiting to laugh with you, to listen to you, to walk beside you. Sometimes that someone is a friend. Sometimes it's something more. But love still lives here, right here, and it's not done with you yet. We often think of legacy as something carved into stone or sealed in a will, a name on a building, a trust fund, a biography written by someone else. But real legacy, the kind that lives and breathes long after you're gone, isn't built in marble. It's built in moments, in character, in how you live right now. You don't have to be rich, famous, or extraordinary to leave a mark. You already leave one every time you show up with kindness, every time you forgive, every time you choose courage over comfort. Your legacy is in the eyes of the people you've listened to, in the warmth of those you've held space for, in the memories someone carries of the way you made them feel, valued, seen, understood. Your legacy is not your resume, it's your presence, and it's still being written. With every conversation you start, every truth you speak, every story you choose to share, with every smile you offer a stranger, with every moment you choose joy, even when it would be easier to turn away. There's a man named Sam who, after losing his wife, began planting trees, one every month for 5 years. He didn't do it to be remembered. He did it because he wanted the world to have more shade than it did when he came into it. Now those trees line the trail where children walk to school. His name is not on a plaque, but his legacy is there, in every leaf, every root, every child who walks beneath what he quietly gave. You don't have to wait until you're gone to leave something meaningful behind. You're leaving it right now. So choose it, build it, live it. Your legacy starts not with what you have, but with who you are. And every day you show up as your truest self, with love and truth and light. You are building something eternal. There's a story you've been told, over and over again, that life has seasons and you've already passed the best one. That joy is for the young, growth is for the ambitious, love is for the beautiful, and purpose is for those with time to spare. That story is wrong. The best years aren't behind you. They're not tucked away in faded photographs or buried in memory. They're not trapped in what could have been or lost in what didn't happen. The best years aren't gone. They're here. They're in the breath you just took, in the choice you still get to make, in the quiet strength that lives in your voice, in the peace that comes from no longer needing to prove anything to anyone, in the beauty of a slower morning, a deeper laugh, a softer heart. You are still becoming. Still worthy, still needed. Don't let the world tell you that you're winding down when you are just arriving at a different kind of beginning. One with less noise and more truth. One with fewer distractions and more meaning. One where you get to choose not who you should be, but who you are. So look up. Step forward. Let this be the chapter where you fall in love with your life. Not for what it was, but for what it is. Because this isn't your decline. This is your becoming. This is your blooming. This is your legacy in motion. And the best years, they're not gone. They're right now, and they belong to you.